Okay, let's unpack this. We've got a pretty dramatic number in front of us today.
Yeah.
One that doesn't just, suggest the market softening a bit, but it kind of screams a crisis of seller confidence, almost.
It really does.
And this statistic, it's so striking, I think we should just jump right in with it. The number of homeowners who listed their properties and then deliberately pulled them off the market, it's up an astonishing 56% year over year.
56%. That single stat, it's really the key to understanding what's happening right now, isn't it?
It feels like it.
And our mission here in this deep dive, it isn't just to report that number. We really need to analyze what it signals beyond, simple price changes.
Right.
We're looking at a market that's really defined by this deep seller hesitation. So the goal today is to give you the strategic framework you need to move past being just a reactive listing agent and really become that indispensable strategic advisor your clients, frankly, desperately need right now.
Okay, so a 56% jump. That feels like a massive red flag. I mean, it's not just houses sitting there getting stale. These are active listings being retracted.
Exactly. Pulled back.
So when we talk about this increase, what's specifically triggering that? Why are they stopping mid-process? What's making sellers, pull the plug?
Well, there are a few things coming together, and they all point to just how complex things are right now.
Okay.
First, you've definitely got the lock-in effect. I mean, a lot of sellers were trying to buy their next place at the same time, right?
That's standard move.
Yeah, but then they realize the shock, the monthly payment shock of trading their, say, 3% mortgage for a 7% one.
Oof.
It's just too steep. So they pull their listing because they just can't make the purchase on the other side work financially.
That makes total sense. I mean, the selling decision isn't only about maximizing profit anymore, is it? It's about minimizing the cost of that next home.
Precisely. And the second factor, it's the sudden shock of real buyer feedback. Not long ago, you'd list a house, expect multiple offers, probably over asking.
Right, the frenzy days.
Exactly. Now, if a home is priced, let's say, optimistically, the feedback they get, maybe lowball offers, maybe criticism about the condition, it hits them hard. It shatters the expectations they had from the peak market.
And they retreat.
Often, yeah. They retreat to kind of regroup rather than just dropping the price right away.
And we can't forget appraisal gaps, right? Yeah. Especially in that $1 to $2 million range you, the listener, often focus on.
Absolutely. With prices shifting quickly, an aggressive initial price might just not hold up when the appraisal comes in. That kills contingent offers.
Got it.
So you combine these stressors, financial, psychological, logistical, and that's what makes sellers feel overwhelmed. And ultimately, they choose to pull the listing. That 56%, it's not arbitrary. It's the quantifiable measure of seller doubt.
Okay, now, a 56% increase in pulled listings, it sounds like the sky is falling,
It can feel that way.
But you're saying this isn't necessarily a massive loss of business. It's actually an opportunity hiding in plain sight. How do we frame this hesitation as an advantage?
Because think about it. These sellers were motivated enough to actually hire an agent, pay for photos, clean up the house.
They started the process.
They started. They're merely paused. They haven't given up on moving. They gave up on the process because, well, it failed them somehow.
Okay.
So they are prime candidates for proactive outreach. They know the uncertainty is real now, and they need a guide, a better guide, perhaps, for the next attempt.
So instead of seeing them as lost deals, they're potential clients who just need a much more sophisticated roadmap than maybe they got the first time around. They need coaching, not just listing services.
That's the critical mindset shift. If listing attempts are failing at this rate, it means the old way, list it high and wait. It's just obsolete.
Yeah. Clearly not working for everyone.
Right. Sellers are now actively looking for advisors who can educate them on how to list, when to list, and really importantly, what to realistically expect. If you're the one who proactively breaks down the market and provides that data-driven certainty, you instantly stand out.
Okay, let's get practical then. Let's unpack this.
It's sweet.
Becoming that strategic advisor means drilling down on the data, implementing targeted actions. What are the, let's say, 3 strategic imperatives we need to focus on to address this uncertainty and really gain that competitive edge?
Okay, the first imperative is really the foundation of building trust. You have to review what's really happening in the market, move beyond those broad, often confusing headline price trends.
Right.
You need to provide surgical clarity.
Most agents just pull a CMA showing closed sales. But that doesn't capture this current dynamic, this hesitation we're seeing. So what granular metrics should our listener be focusing on and communicating to sellers right now?
Focus on the real-time performance metrics, not just historical closing prices. You need to analyze the data that actually led to that 56% failure rate for others.
Okay, like what specifically?
This means tracking, showing activity, how many showings are similar, active homes actually getting, what's the buyer feedback, are agents consistently mentioning the lack of updates or the price or maybe the floor plan, and crucially, the offer-to-list ratio, or maybe how often price reductions are happening right there in that specific neighborhood.
That feedback loop is vital. But delivering, let's be honest, potentially negative feedback, like saying their neighbor's very similar house got 0 offers despite 15 showings, that requires some finesse, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the goal isn't to scare them off, it's to ground them in the current reality.
Right.
So the tangible action here for you, the listener, is to build a simple, maybe visual market performance snapshot. Compare showing activity and offer counts for active listings now versus, say, 6 months ago.
Context.
Exactly, and the presentation needs to be empathetic. Something like, look, here's why some listings are struggling right now, and here's the specific strategic approach we will take to make sure yours doesn't end up that way.
That historical and current context, yeah, they could really cut through the confusion that leads people to pull back. Okay, so if the data imperative 1 shows the market is tight, maybe sensitive to condition, where do we shift focus next to prepare the actual property? That brings us to imperative 2, right? Tightening up the small things.
Yes, exactly. In a market where buyers are cautious, maybe a bit nervous, they're actively looking for reasons to hesitate or walk away. So we shift focus almost entirely from those big multi-thousand-dollar renovations.
Which sellers might be reluctant to do anyway right now.
Precisely. We shift to high ROI fixes, the small details that signal the home has been meticulously cared for. It's really about risk reduction for both the seller and the buyer.
Okay, but hold on. We're often talking about the, $1 to $2 million market here. Don't sellers and buyers in that bracket kind of expect major staging, maybe kitchen updates? Is like fresh paint and better lighting really going to be enough to secure a confident sale at that level?
That's a really smart question, a good challenge. And here's the psychological piece. In a market with higher interest rates, buyers are hyper-focused on value and, importantly, avoiding future costs and hassles.
Wait.
A massive kitchen reno. That signals a higher price tag, maybe overspending to the buyer, but small fixes, fresh, neutral paint, professional landscaping touch-ups, updating clearly outdated lighting fixtures, those signal care, move-in readiness. It suggests a seller who's focused on the details, not trying to hide something.
So it's about reducing those perceived friction points. Things a cautious buyer might latch onto to justify a lower offer or just walk away.
Exactly right. Small fixes reduce that mental burden for the buyer, that list of things I need to deal with immediately. And think about the nervous seller who just retracted their listing. These are low commitment, low risk actions for them.
Yeah, manageable.
They feel like they're doing something productive without risking, say, $50,000 on a major project when the market still feels uncertain. And this plays directly into your existing strength, listener, of emphasizing contractors with strong reviews.
That's a great connection. So the action item here is prepare that quick pre-listing checklist, maybe 3 to 5 inexpensive but really impactful fixes, and present it alongside your vetted partners. It demonstrates expertise by offering tangible solutions to that market anxiety.
Exactly. You're solving a problem proactively.
Okay. And finally, imperative 3. This focuses on maybe the biggest external variable impacting buyers right now: mortgage rates.
Yeah, this one's non-negotiable because rates, at the end of the day, they're the ultimate decider of buyer purchasing power. Your $1 million buyer today might suddenly only be a $900,000 buyer next week if rates tick up just 0.5%. So you need to become an expert rate watcher.
How closely, though?
Well, consider this. Even a slight dip, maybe just 25 basis points, that can unlock significant new demand because it suddenly puts thousands more potential buyers back into that $1 to $2 million range you're targeting.
Okay, but tracking rates constantly, that sounds like almost a full-time job in itself.
Yeah.
What practical tools should our listener be using to track rates effectively, beyond just, reading the news headlines?
Yeah, you definitely need more than headlines. You should rely on professional sources. Ideally, platforms that track the daily movement of the average 30-year fixed rate, not just the Fed funds rate, that's different.
Right.
Platforms that provide historical context are really useful too. But the real action isn't just tracking, it's in the communication strategy. You need to translate that technical rate data into actionable information about buyer purchasing power.
Okay, how do we translate that? Give me an example.
You literally show them the math. If rates drop, say, a quarter of a point, you calculate what that means. Maybe it's $100 less per month on a $700,000 loan. You show them how that could potentially qualify a buyer for an extra $15,000 on the purchase price.
Ah, okay.
That clarity helps the seller understand why timing the market, even slightly around rate movements, can actually matter.
Got it. So the action for the listener here is to set up maybe a regular rate watch update for their database, show them you have that holistic view, keeps you top of mind, and proves you're watching the macro factors that really determine success.
Correct. It builds that credibility. You're not just a listing agent, you're a market advisor.
Okay, which brings us perfectly to the communication piece. We have this really dramatic 56% statistic. We have this clear three-part strategy, data analysis, small fixes, rate watching. How do we effectively weave that uncertainty signal, that 56%, into marketing that actually generates high-quality listing conversations? Not just clicks, but conversations.
Right. You have to use the statistic as a sharp kind of curiosity hook,
Okay.
and then immediately pivot to your solution, your strategy. We've identified about 4 key outreach channels to execute this effectively.
Okay, let's break those down, starting with email. Outreach to past clients, maybe farm areas. How do we title that email to cut through the noise?
Okay, for email outreach, definitely use the statistic in the subject line, something provocative like, why 56% of your area neighbors listed and gave up?
Ooh, yeah, that sparks curiosity.
Right. Then in the body, you share the stat, briefly explain the why the uncertainty, the lock-in effect we talked about, and then the call to action has to be specific, something like, let's review the real-time showing data for your specific neighborhood today. This links directly back to imperative 1.
I like that pivot. From the big scary problem to a very specific data-driven solution you offer. Okay, what about physical outreach? Like in their target $1 and $2 farm areas?
Yeah.
Direct mail.
Yeah, for direct mail or postcards, the message obviously needs to be much shorter and really high trust. You acknowledge the market noise, state that you know many people are listing and then pulling back, maybe due to failed preparation. And then you invite them to look at the 3 small steps that make all the difference right now. This hooks into imperative 2, those high ROI fixes, and subtly positions you as the expert who knows how to prepare a property for success, even in a sensitive market.
Nice. And for social media, video, where attention spans are notoriously short.
Social media or video is actually perfect for dissecting a single punchy stat like this quickly. You could create a concise, maybe 60-second video, explain the 56% dropout rate, touch on the 3 main reasons why it's happening.
Okay.
Then wrap it up with a really clear call to action. Invite homeowners to DM you directly for a rate watch update and market checkup. This approach hits both imperative 1, the data checkup, and imperative 3, the rate watch, simultaneously. Keep it high energy, focused, valuable.
Got it. Short, sharp, value-packed. And finally, that crucial piece, internal consistency, making sure the team is on the same page.
Absolutely vital. If you have a team and they're interacting with these potential sellers, maybe at open houses, maybe responding to leads, they need a consistent message.
So a script.
Yeah, equip them with a simple script or talking points, mention the statistic, briefly outline your 3-step advisory approach, data, fixes, rates, and offer that free, no-pressure review or consultation. Consistency across your whole brand ensures that your message of strategic guidance actually cuts through all the other noise out there.
You know, this whole campaign, this strategy, it really seems like a perfect fit for the listener's broader goals, systematizing the buying and selling process, creating a predictable business model, especially in that discerning $1 million to $2 million buy box they focus on.
It really is the essence of systematization, isn't it? You're taking what feels like an emotional, volatile moment, that seller hesitation, and you're replacing it with a predictable, repeatable 3-step process. When you lead with the hard data, like the 56% failure rate, and then immediately offer this clear solution, you eliminate a huge amount of seller confusion and anxiety. Yeah. And that disciplined advisory approach, it's especially critical in that $1 to $2 bracket, where clients absolutely expect a professional, process-driven guide who can manage risk and expectations effectively.
And it strongly leverages those vetted contractor relationships that, as you mentioned, are already a staple of their business model.
Precisely. Your existing emphasis on contractors with strong reviews ties seamlessly into that tighten up the little things imperative.
Right.
You're not just advising them to paint. You're offering them pre-qualified, trustworthy partners to execute those small, high ROI fixes.
Takes work off their plate.
Exactly. It
All right.
takes anxiety off the seller's plate and further validates you as a comprehensive strategic partner, not just, a salesperson putting a sign in the yard. This systematic, low-anxiety approach is really the key to turning that high-end buy box into repeatable, scalable success.
Okay, so to kind of summarize our deep dive here, that 56% uptick in homeowners pulling their listings, it's way more than just a discouraging market statistic.
Much more.
It's a loud, clear signal of market uncertainty, driven by psychology, finances, often poor preparation. But, and this is the key point, with that uncertainty comes a very clear opportunity, an opportunity for those agents who choose to lead with empathy, with granular data, and with actionable next steps. This strategic framework we discussed, it's the necessary bridge to having meaningful conversations with motivated sellers who are just temporarily paused.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture for you, the listener, the core challenge facing these hesitant sellers, it's deep anxiety. You've now got the tools to master the data points, the showings, the feedback, the rates. But the final, maybe provocative thought for you to consider is this. How can you move beyond simply reporting the data? How can you actively use that data, the showing analysis, the rate watch updates, that high ROI checklist, to actively eliminate a seller's anxiety, to help them genuinely shift their mindset from feeling paused to feeling definitively prepared? That mastery of seller psychology, backed by hard numbers and a clear plan, that's what defines the truly strategic advisor in today's market.